actual fact, I might not even use one, but never mind. I'm more accustomed to standing than sitting. Never mind. Okay. Let's bow head and pray in silence. Amen. Hallelujah. In the name of Lord Jesus, we're going to start our afternoon last two sessions. First, yes, last two. I know. You just have to bear with me, okay? 2 more hours, and it'll be closing, and it'll be all finished. But before we do that, let's all sing a hymn. 450. Hymn 450. Can you guys put some oomph into it, okay? Please. Sung the battle cry, see the foe is back, raise the standard high for the Lord. Gird your armor on, stand firm everyone, rest your cause upon His holy word. Rest and soldiers rally round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna, Christ is captain of the mighty throne. Strong to meet the foe, marching on we go, while our cause we know must prevail. Shield and banner bright, gleaming in the light, battling for the right we never can fail. Rouse and soldiers rally round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna, Christ is captain of the mighty throne. O thou God of all, hear us when we call, help us once more by thy grace. When the battle's done and the victory's won, may we wear the crown before thy face. Roused and soldiers rising round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna, Christ is captain of the mighty throne. Before we share our experience and also, according to the topic of these 2 lessons, will be practical tips. Let's honor them, pray in one accord. Although we might not be turning to the scriptures for encouragement, but nonetheless, we pray that the Lord will be with us through what we're going to share, through our fellowships together, that we can all prepare ourselves to be, a mighty warrior of our Lord. So let's honor them, pray in one accord. In the name of Lord Jesus, we pray. Amen. Hallelujah. In the name of the Lord Jesus, I speak. First and foremost, my name is Michael. Oops, you know that already, but never mind. I still need to introduce myself because it's the first time I speak to you guys. Right? Welcome to AMC, and I will soon saying bye-bye to you all, but, that's another matter. Anyway, right. For the past, I lost count how many days. Anyway, since Sunday, we have been trying to stuff as much spiritual knowledge into you as possible, right? And hopefully, some, if not most, will stick and might become useful to you in your spiritual journey ahead. Now, for the last 2 hours, we're going to turn into a completely different direction, and we're going to talk about practical issues. That means that, yes, hopefully, you guys are spiritually prepared and ready to go. But in terms of ready to go, you also need to prepare yourselves physically. So that's why I'm standing here, because allegedly, I'm someone who has some experience in this field. So I am supposed to pass down some of, what I experienced to you guys, in order to help you when you, by the grace of God, embark on your volunteering trip to Africa or any other pioneering areas. The first thing you will notice, and it is deliberate, and mind you, hold a minute. First thing you notice is that I have not prepared any PowerPoints. Why?
No PowerPoint in Africa.
Thank you very much. Yes, I do tend to realize that, nowadays when we go and do presentations, even in some RE classes, the first thing that you guys, do is to prepare some kind of presentation. Yes, by the mighty power of, modern technology, that's what we do, okay? But I think it might not come in handy when you visit Africa. So the first thing that I would like to get it in your head, and by doing it myself, is that there is no PowerPoint, because that would be totally and utterly useless to you guys. All right? So I will just do, as some preachers once said, we'll just make it up as we go along. Yeah? Because we have no PowerPoint. So I can basically waffle and go in all directions. Yes? And stop turning around to look at your dad, Never mind. Yes. Yes, okay. That's just purely between me and him. So forget about it, all right? Don't worry. Right. Now, the structure of these 2 hours will be as follows. First, I would sort of go through all the tips or hints or, ideas that you might find handy when you visit Africa. That might take up to an hour. I don't know. Depends on, depends on me, actually. Depends on how I feel. And also depends on whether you guys have any questions. Because hopefully, in the second hour, I will leave some time for you guys to ask questions. Now, if you want to ask any questions concerning the teachings of the Bible, then you have got preachers who were with you, and you have lost the opportunity now because they are now gone. Okay? So only Preacher FF will be gone as well because he will soon depart from us. So, so don't ask any biblical questions. But, in terms of practical questions, I will try my best to answer you. And then I will also, in the second hour, I'd like to talk to you about, some of the work of AMC, and in particular, the building projects that we're going to do, and to introduce you to that, because that's something that you should always remember wherever you are, or whether you have or have not. This is something that we can, show our concern towards. And then, last but not least, if time allows, then I will then embark on my favorite topic, every year,
and that is translations of the Bible, but, that's totally different subject. So, anyway, so that's only, I will do that if time allows. Right, practical tips. First and foremost, can you tell me how much luggage you bring to London this time around? A carry-on. How many people just bring a carry-on? Put your hands up. Just a carry-on, nothing else. But apart from yourself, obviously. That's not bad. Okay, now, not for those in UK. How many not foreigners? How many of our non-UK friends, bring a carry-on? 1, 2, 3. Oh, not bad. Okay, and how heavy do you think a carry-on is? Sorry? 5 kg. I'm not a betting man, I'm not supposed to bet, but if I am allowed to bet, okay, I will put all my life savings on it that it is more than 5 kg. And I would say that it would even be more than double that. Yes, Jordan?
Fanny said it was 25 kg.
No, I mean this time, like come to London.
No, when you went to Africa.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Okay. Oh, someone was paying attention to you. Oh, not that. Right. Okay. At least one person was paying attention. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Okay. The first thing is, obviously, if you go to Africa, you need to bring some sort of luggage with you. The traditional wisdom is make the maximum use of whatever airline allows you. Now, that's either 20 or 23 kilo. And that's what I did, a long time ago. I find the biggest allowable bag and stuff everything in it and just make sure that it will only slightly exceed the weight limit. Because, normally airline will say, nah, that's all right, a couple of kg above, that's no problem. Okay? And so I end up bringing around 25 kilo. Oh, sorry, Fanny. I end up bringing 25 kilo in a big suitcase to Africa. Right? That was a long time ago. But you know what? Half the stuff, or 3/4 of the stuff, remains in that bag and was untouched. Did you have a similar experience? You use everything.
Use half of them.
She's a girl.
Oh.
No, as a girls use more things.
It's a good thing you're
But you
married.
Yes, I know, Jordan. You better be careful.
No, like,
Stop.
The first piece of advice I would give you is find a bag, halve it, stuff it full, and then halve it again. And that's probably what you need. Okay? Seriously, if you go to Africa, unlike coming to a civilized, that's the wrong word. Unlike coming to a more developed, city or country, really, your mentality, your gut reaction is to bring everything that you ever thought of and bring it along with you. But you will find out that, you are just, as one preacher kept on saying, you'll be just causing harm to yourself. 自己害自己啦. Why? Because, for all intents and purposes, you need to carry your own, the word is burden. All right? And I'm not joking. Try carrying 25, 30 kilos with you on rough, uneven ground, walking for an hour or more. It's no joke. Unless you are a trained mountaineer. Okay? When you go climb Mount Everest, maybe that's a different story, where you carry up, what you call it, a slate behind you and you have your, your tent and everything else. But that's not the case. You're going to Africa. Okay? So, please do not bring a big bag with you. And do not bring everything, including the kitchen sink, with you. Because you will not be able to use it. You just need to bring the essential items with you. So let's just, briefly go through some of the things that you might want to take note of. Chinese, we say that there are 4 major tenets, for life. Basically is clothing. Secondly is food. Thirdly is shelter. Fourthly is transportation. Okay? If I turn the other around and look at transportation first. The reason why I started off with bags is because you will not have the luxury of being chauffeured here and there. It will never be a door-to-door service that will be provided. Seriously. Okay? So, in terms of transportation, you will always be stuffed, sardined into public transport. And therefore, you have very, very little space for luggage. All right? You will not be able to, okay, let's put it this way. One time, on a particular trip, there was so much luggage that we have got to actually pay for extra passenger seats in order to accommodate our luggage. That is not a good idea. Okay, if you are a cellist and cellist and you go on a concert and you have to pay for your cello to sit next to you on the airplane, that's fine. But in terms of Africa, you can't really do that and don't really want to do that. Okay, so in terms of transport, be prepared that you will be using public transport in a very crowded environment. Now, one time, one sister said to me, and which I think is a very, very good reflection of what happened. Okay, two sisters went along, okay, and they were traveling in this crowded minivan with a lot of people. The road was extremely bumpy. After about an hour, okay, once the sister starts to say, oh, this is really suffering, this is really bad, the road condition is just horrendous. But the other sister turned around and says, we are actually going on a free Disney ride, or words to that effect. You have these rides that go ups and down, she was imagining that, she was enjoying the bumpiness of that trip. You see what I mean? And I think that totally reflects one very important thing in Africa, and that is your mindset, right? What I always say is, prepare for the worst, and then, at the end of the day, nothing will happen to you, because you have already prepared for the worst. Like Sister Fanny said, she was prepared. I don't know whether you're prepared, but you did mention the word death somewhere along your testimony, right? So somehow, you prepare for the worst, and actually the worst seldom happens to you. Seriously. But you prepare for it psychologically, in terms of your mindset, you're prepared for it. So anything that happens that is not the worst, and as I said, 95, 99% of the chances is that you won't encounter those worst case scenario, then you will feel what? Content, happy. Okay? So if you come to London, just prepare for the worst. Every day we are not going to have food. And then suddenly you realize that, we actually have 3 meals a day. You'll be happy. But if you come and expect, you'll be well served, and, you have lobster one day, and then you have got abalones, the other, etc., then you will, I'm sorry, you will get bitterly disappointed because we do not provide that service here. And likewise, in Africa, it is always the same. I think if you prepare somehow at the back of your mind, I'm not saying that you should always mourn and, find out all these, bad things, the horror stories that you hear on the news. I'm not saying that, but somehow the mindset is very important, okay? Get ready. When things happen, it seldomly would be as bad as it sounds or as you imagined. So in terms of transport, this is one very classic example. A long time ago, it does show my age, right, okay? There was some people carrier. Now, I know that you guys now call it SUV, right? A long, long time ago, only one particular car manufacturer produced 8-seaters, okay? And most of them actually ended up in Africa. I'm talking about a Peugeot 508. Okay, it's got 3 rows and it's got limited luggage at the end. It then got deployed as taxis up and down the country, in a particular country, in Kenya, actually. Okay, and the fact that I think is well, you can't find those cars because they're so old that they got redundant now. But the fact that a 8-seater, including the driver, normally you're able to sit 12, if not 14 or 16. And we are not doing, I don't know whether you guys have seen an ad for the Mini. The Mini? Car, Mini. there was an ad about a mini where people just keep on coming out. They're doing, remember that one? They're just trying to, but obviously, we all know that's fake, that's no way. But in reality, that could be possible. Because if you go to Africa, the key word is, if you go to Africa, everything is possible. Sorry?
All things are possible to him who goes to Africa.
Yes, you say that, this is a 5-seater. Oh no, I'm sure that we can at least take 10. Therefore, in terms of transport, it is something that you're going to be prepared for, all right? And, for argument's sake, sorry, no pictures, okay? But, in a minivan, maybe there are two seats here, and then there's the aisle that allows people to come, okay? And they would also make use of that aisle. They just put a plank of wood there and sit 2-person. Okay, so they just stuff it, Yes, people are nodding already. Thank you very much. Hope you're not nodding off. But never mind. All right, so, this is how they work. Because there is no timetable, okay? There is no schedule. You can't say, hey, when would the next bus be? The next bus is already there. Because they would only started their journey after they have stuffed, as many people into it as possible. So if you are the lucky one, depends on how you look at it. If you're the lucky, I would say that if you're the lucky one, then you will be the last passenger to get onto that bus. But you'll be the unlucky one because you will be squeezed because you're the last one. All the good seats, all the comfortable places have been taken over. So you'll be squeezed, and the conductor will squeeze you into a very, very tiny space. But you have no choice. Because you do want to go, and you're the last one, and you're holding up the whole bus. Okay? So you have to go. But if you are the unlucky one, to be the first to alight that bus, okay, to get onto that bus or minivan, then there is a chance that once I waited 3 hours before, it got filled. Because there are particular rush hours, as if anywhere in the world, that, people tend to move. But if you miss the rush hour, and then you get onto a minibus and you're the first passenger, then you have got to wait a long, long time in order for that bus to. So that goes back to, I think, what Jonathan one time said, Africa time. You mentioned Africa time. Africa time basically is time, that is quite different from what your watch or nowadays what the smartphone tell you. Okay? You allowed for something, but you allowed for an extra hour or 2. Add to it, and you won't go amiss. It's getting better now, but in terms of transport. So you don't say, how long is that journey? Because it is an open-ended question. Right? It's totally open-ended. It depends on who you ask, and also it depends on when you plan to travel. Okay, sometimes you just have to stand at the roadside for yonks, for some bus to come along. And as we say, one comes along and what happens? Another one follow immediately, right? Okay, so sometimes it's just like that. So in terms of transport, you need to be prepared to wait, to get squeezed, and prepare for a bumpy ride. That, I think, is about it. And you need to be careful. That's why the luggage bit comes in, okay? Your luggage, you have 2 options. One, you hold on to it. And obviously, if you have a 27 or 31-inch case, then you can't hold on to it. Then what will happen to it? It will go on the top of the bus, okay? And they'll just use some rope to tie everything down. And if it rains, then I'm afraid that if you do not carry a waterproof bag, then it will get soaked. So, the smaller the bag, the better it is, because you'll be able to hold on to your own personal belongings. You need to be aware that because you will probably, or your group will probably, the only, white faces around, people will notice you like you guys are sticking out like a sore thumb. Okay? So people will notice you, and therefore you will attract a lot of what? Huh? Not attention.
The vendors and scammers.
You will have the vendors, you will have what?
Scammers.
We have the scammers. You will also have the, chances, the thieves and, and things like that. One time, a brother was traveling in a certain country, and he became unknowingly he became the target of some thefts because they made use of the crowded. The more crowded it is, then the easier they're able to do their business without you noticing because everyone just squeezed together. Okay, and in particular when you're getting on and off, it's not so much getting on because everybody will get stuck into a metal cage, but it's much easier for them to do their thing when you get off the bus, and when they get off, they pickpocket you or they just grab something. Look about grabbing something. One time I was with a preacher traveling from the city center. We were about to leave that particular country from the city center to the airport, right? Okay, and the preacher, was so hot. He wind down the window. Mind you, we were using a taxi, so it was just two of us going to the airport. The preacher was sitting at the passenger seat at the front row. Okay, it was so hot, and he felt so relaxed because at last he has completed that portion of the trip. We're moving on to another country. He started to wind down the window, put his hand there, as men do. Sorry, as men do. Just put your hand on the window. The wind it down. Felt so relaxed. The car was slowly moving around, moving, inching because of the traffic light and all the traffic jam. And then suddenly came along, and his watch is gone. Simply because they spotted a white man in a car, and that white man just put his hand there, feeling very relaxed with his watch just, on public view. Gone. It happened just like that. Okay? So, in terms of, security, in terms of personal safety, you guys need to be very, very aware. Do not show me the money. That is not the way to go. And talking about that, by the way, when you bring money, obviously it's cash, okay? The advice from me really is you need to store it in different pockets and locations. Do not put all your money in one wallet or in one location, because if you lose that, that's you finished. Okay, I'm not trying to tell you horror stories, but to illustrate this, let me tell you another horror story. Why not? Why not? One time we were holding a seminar. We were holding a seminar in a particular town, and because of the people, the workers there, so we hired a hotel, sort of like hotel. Don't imagine like a Hilton conference center. It's not like that. Okay, it's just a space, a room, so that we do that, and then we live, in that particular compound, right? Okay. One morning, we're supposed to pay for the lodging, right? So we went down, as we normally do, we went down to the room, everybody. We went down to morning prayer, and after morning prayer, then we will go for breakfast, right? And this reflects badly on me, okay? So don't take this too seriously. I'm not that bad, really. But, that particular morning, because I know that we have to pay for the lodging, so I took out the cash from wherever, I'm not going to tell you where I hide my money, okay? So I took that amount, and for whatever reason, I just put it, in the room in quite a, just put it. I can't even remember where I put it, honestly, okay? But the fact is, I took it out from, where I normally stash my cash, getting ready to pay, and thinking that, after morning prayer, then I will just go back to the room, grab that money, and pay the hotel staff before I go to breakfast. After breakfast, went into the room. The first thing I noticed is, hey, did I not lock the door this morning when I went down to prayer? Sure, I did. Oh, never mind. Open into the room. Don't imagine that it was ransacked. It was not ransacked, okay? It was still very nice. But certain personal items and also the cash that I took out is gone. totally gone. Talk to the hotel manager. He says, hotel managers do have the ability to sort of, sweet talk you and, convince you that, it's just a figment of your imagination. Sure, I had a camera. It's gone. I had cash. I told him, I had cash supposed to pay you. Now it's gone. I can't pay you. But obviously, he would say, that's not my problem. So we went and get the police involved, and, the police just come and say, just look around, you Western guy, you're rich anyway, so it doesn't matter. So the moral of the story really is anything could happen, all right? And you need to be very, very careful with your personal security, with your personal belongings. So I thank God that, what we lost basically is just for that particular amount that we're supposed to pay the staff for that night. Okay, we still have money around to continue our journey and to continue our trip because we sort of put the money in different places and different people will share the burden of carrying the cash. Sometimes when you visit a particular country, you will need to bring some cash or some money with you as expenses. All right. And I will also always say that, it's good to share, to store it equally, share it amongst, whoever is going. And do not just let someone be the technical word is called cash cow. Because honestly, people will soon notice whenever you need to pay something, it's always him or it's always her. Then you become a target. You see what I'm saying? Okay? So it's always good to hide it, not hide, but to store it in different locations. And if more than one people are going, because obviously you guys will probably go not by yourself anyway. So try to, even out the load, as in financially speaking. That would be very, very helpful. So sometimes you pay, sometimes I pay, and so it's just not become a very plain target for people to get you. All right? Okay. Oops, sorry, I'm way beyond time. Okay, anyway, so let's travel, okay? Let's talk about clothing. How many set of clothing do you bring this time round to London? Don't let me know. I don't want to know. It's a personal problem. But what I said is, if you want to go to Africa, the minimum, and thereby becoming the maximum, yes, I know minimum equals maximum in my equation, is the fact that you wear one set, bring two sets, and that would be fine. How many people can survive with only two sets in their luggage? Well, you have to think about it. What happens, because the weather is hot, you tend to wash your clothes every night anyway, okay? And because the weather is hot, in 24 hours' time, it will be all dried anyway. So the trick really, for me anyway, is I wear one set, and I have another set, and I alternate it every day. I never touch the third set, except in emergencies. For example, every night I'm supposed to wash my clothes, but if for some reason I couldn't do that, then I would use the third set. But if possible, you have to discipline yourself and do your washing every day, okay? It's not like you have a washing machine at home and you store and you collect a whole week's of washing, plunk it in the machine, press a button, out it comes all fresh, and sometimes even dried. We haven't invented a machine that can fold all your clothes yet, but I'm sure that someone will. But it will not yet happen in Africa anyway. So, okay, my recommendation, remember, okay, these are not AMC recommendations. These are just my personal, tips to you guys. Wear one set, bring two sets, and okay, if you want to be a little bit more comfortable and reassuring to yourself, bring another extra set. That's fine. But at least, please do not think that I'm going for 4 weeks and therefore I bring, I don't know, one change of clothes every day, ready for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It doesn't work like that. All right? You're just making yourself a lot of hard work. Because try hand washing your clothes at home. How many people can hand wash their clothes? Not many people. You do hand wash at home? Really? Sometimes. What? Your silk blouse? No, sorry. Your silk blouse.
Yeah,
Yeah, some delicate fabric.
do that in my country, in Indonesia.
Oh, right.
Washing machine, so I kind of learned from my mom.
Yes, very good. Well done. Very good. These are skills that you need to practice. And since we're on that, and since I'm making this up as we go along anyway, so we'll just quickly jump to that topic. There's one thing that you guys need to sort of prepare yourself while you're still at home, per se, including learn how to wash your clothes by hand. A lot of people, volunteers, they arrive in Africa, and after the first night, they realize that, oh, right, I have to wash the clothes. How do I do that? A lot of people do have difficulty in washing their clothes by hand. So it would be a good idea to practice or learn how to do it. And that's where mom comes in useful, right? Well, or sometimes not, mom won't come in useful, it will be your grandma. Depends on where you are or who you are. Okay? But what I'm saying is you need to learn something. Okay? You need to practice something. So that's the first thing. You learn to hand wash your clothes. All right? Second thing that you need to learn, and this is not from me, okay? This is from Preacher Johnny. Okay? Preacher Johnny says that, you guys need to learn how to squat. Now, if you don't get that, you won't get that. But never mind. But it would be a good idea because depends on which YouTube channel you guys are on. Okay? Some people will say squatting is better than sitting down. But there are other theories as well. I don't really care. It's not a matter of which is better or which is more efficient. It is a matter of being practical, and it is something that you need to do. Huh?
No. He's talking about what's the meaning of squat.
Squat. I would sacrifice my dignity and show you and demonstrate. Squat. Squat. But it's more than squatting to wash your clothes. Although that would be the next point. The next point is when you start learn how to wash, okay, you need to learn how to use limited quantity of water to wash your clothes. Because it is not an unlimited supply of water. All right? I am the proud, this is self-advertisement, but never mind. I'm the proud record holder. Oh, yes. Okay, I haven't applied to Guinness yet, but, maybe I should. I'm the proud record holder of being to use 1 bucket of water to wash my hair, to wash my body, to wash my clothes, and use the wastewater to flush the toilet. No, seriously. My friend Peter would be able to bear testimony to that. Peter, as in Peter in your country, Singapore. Because he was on that trip with me. That's way before he was a preacher. Okay, so, yes, Peter. Yes. Anyway, so maybe not to that extreme, because that was only in very, very dire circumstances. In certain countries, they would only provide you with 1 bucket of water every day for everything. Okay, but nowadays, wherever you guys go, it probably will be slightly more lenient, as if you will have more than 1 bucket. But at the very least, try to learn not just how to wash your clothes, but with limited water, how do you wash yourselves as well. Now, some sisters, I've not yet met with a brother because, I don't know, this is definitely a gender issue. The brothers don't really care. I'll tell you stories about brothers in a minute. But for sisters, okay, they tend to have the idea that, maybe it's good to bring wet wipes or baby wipes, what do you call it? Wet wipes, okay? And start wiping yourself down. But it would only be, honestly, in my opinion, it will only be for emergency only. Eventually, if you go for 3 or 4 weeks, you can't really use wet wipes, throughout the trip. a sister brought enough wet wipes prepared to just what I call dry wash herself, every week, every day. But now eventually she gave up. It just wouldn't work. In theory, it might work, but I don't think it would work in practice. Maybe a couple of days, yes, but so you still have to learn, okay, how to use limited water to wash. I'm sorry, sisters, you probably need more water because you have got slightly longer hair, maybe. I don't know. Okay, but for brothers, okay. No, I'm not going to tell stories. Sorry. Okay, never mind. Okay, anyway, so this is something that you need to be aware of. Okay, water is a very important, commodity. That water could be from anywhere. It could be from a tap. It could be from a well. It could be from a stream. We now seldom find water from just a pool. A pool as in, but it could be rainwater, mind you. It could be rainwater. Okay? So the quality of water differs. Okay, I'll tell you the story. Why not? One time a brother, he went into the bathroom to take a shower, and he did not come out for a long, long time. Okay? Why? Eventually we asked, what's going on, man? You're blocking everyone. People are queuing for, to take a shower. Eventually it transpired that because the water came from a well, right? And the well is not the cleanest water on earth, right? So it's a bit muggy with some things, I couldn't say a layer, but visibly there are something, in the water. Let's put it that way. Okay, dead or alive. Never mind. Let's not debate that. So he wants to take a shower, or it's not shower, by the way, it's what we call bucketing. The technical word is called bucketing. Basically, you just bucket waters on you. All right? And that's why, at home, you need to learn that. And the secret is just use a cup and then just to splash it all over you. Okay. He went into the shower room, bathroom, or whatever. It's basically just a toilet. He stared at that water, and it took him half an hour to decide whether he should use that water to bathe himself. He just stared at that. He just looked at the water. It's not the cleanest water in the world, and he just could not make up his mind whether he should take a shower that day. Well, eventually he did because he had no choice. But the moral of the story really is the fact that, you just have to live with it. You won't go to area where the water quality would be very dubious because that would be reserved for us lots. I have been to countries and locations where, for my personal, safety, I have to pour Dettol into it. Leave it 15 minutes. You know what Dettol is? Dettol. American? Dettol? American don't know what Dettol is. How to explain Dettol? Okay, some kind of antiseptic, stinky, or the alternative is just put a couple of chlorine tablets in it, okay, just to kill everything off. Make sure that the water will still look yucky, and the residues will remain, but at least there won't be, or you hope that whatever antiseptic thing you put into it will kill off the majority of bugs before you take the water. But for you guys, you probably won't need to do that, so should be all right. Don't worry. Scary stories. Right? Okay. And talking about water as well. Always drink from a bottle, as if, a bottled water. It's the safest. So that's why I always say, if I go to Africa, my quota for soft drinks, or Americans will call soda, for the year, I will satisfy my quota for soda or soft drinks every year for a trip. Basically, what it means is, you tend to drink a lot of, without names, the black stuff, you know what the black stuff is? Or the orange stuff, or the clear stuff, or, whatever. That comes out of a bottle where it goes, those things, soft drinks, okay? That would probably be the safest thing, or bottled mineral water, and they would all be imported anyway. And you might want to brave yourself and try some local water. A lot of countries will have local water come in plastic bags. They said that they have gone through ultraviolet treatment and distilled and pasteurized, etc., etc. Now, it's up to you to brave it. I have known, people who unknowingly drink some local water that they get serious diarrhea. Okay. Your chances of getting diarrhea via water is much higher than getting it via food, because the food that you eat would probably be quite safe and well cooked. Okay, but the water you just need to be very, very careful about water. All right. And talking about water, what else do I need to do? Yes, it would therefore be good to bring a bottle with you and fill up. But it just depends on your personal choice. I've got plastic bottles that I use throughout the journey. It should be fine. You just keep on topping it up. Because normally what we do is we buy those 3 and 5 liters big, jugs of water, and we just refill everyone's bottles. So it should be okay. All right? Be very careful about water. It's the other thing. Where was I? Why was I talking about water? Yes, I was talking about squatting. No, I was talking about washing and cleaning yourself. Okay. So these are things that you need to be aware of. Right, I've talked about clothes. Oh yes, by the way, if you need, then you need somewhere to hang your clothes. You just need to learn that a coat hanger might be a luxury. If you go to Africa, you sometimes will see that people, after washing, they just lay their washed clothes, out in the open, on the grassland or, on barbed wires. And you need to be very careful when you hang it on barbed wires, because it tends to make holes in your clothes. That's what a barbed wire does, right? So you just need to hang it gently, and when you collect it, you do not just go because you will definitely tear. No, so all these things you will learn, hopefully not through painful experience. This will you learn from painful experiences, because you only wear one set, you bring 2 sets, and then you wash it, you put it on a barbed wire, you go like this, and then suddenly you realize that you wear 1 set and you only have 1 set. Not a good idea, right? Okay, so that's what happens, right? Washing. What else do we say? Well, that's more or less like it. And then let's go back to the more fundamental things. Trips. Depends on which country you go to, you need to make sure that you have got the relevant visa for it. Most countries are okay for getting visas, but depends on actually what passport you hold. You might have difficulties, or you might need, prolonged period to get approval for a visa. So you need to make sure that for whatever passport you hold, do I need a visa? How do I apply for a visa? How much would that cost, and how long would it take? Seriously. Sometimes it can be done online. Sometimes it can be done on arrival. Sometimes you need to go for an interview in a relevant embassy. So it really, really depends, right? So you need to find that out as soon as possible. Apart from visa, you need to make sure your passport is up to date, at least 6 months, have at least 6 months of until it expires after the end of your trip. Otherwise, you probably won't get allowed, in and out of a country. Okay, and it is advisable to make hard copies. I know you guys tend to take photo for everything, but it would be useful to make a hard copy of your passport, at least your face page. Okay, just in case anything, and put it. Again, like money, put it separately from your passport and into somewhere else different, in a different bag or in a different area, so that, just in case you require it, you'll be able to salvage or retrieve it. Okay? Passport is very important. Medications. Now, if you need regular medications, you probably will not get it locally. So make sure that you bring enough. And actually, you bring more than enough. You never know what happens. Okay, you bring more than enough of your medication. But you definitely will need to go and see a doctor beforehand because there is something called malaria. Particularly if you're a volunteer, you're just going for the first time or the second time or whatever, my personal recommendation is take malaria tablet. It will cost you, it will not be provided on NHS if you're in the UK. You have got to pay for a private prescription. And the way private prescription work is you pay to see the doctor or nurse, you pay to get the prescription, and then depends on what they prescribe, you pay to get the drug per tablet. Okay? So it has been known that it costs more than £100 or more to get all the required medication. But that, I think, you're not looking very carefully. You just pay the first, person who can sell you the drug. But actually, there are cheaper places to get the drug. Okay? So, malaria tablet is essential, but it has to be taken in a very specific way. You take it a certain period before your trip, you take it during your trip, and you need to take it a certain number of weeks after the trip. Because malaria has a maximum incubation period of 14 days. Okay? So, you might not notice anything after you return until, for example, 2 weeks or thereafter. So a lot of the times you need to buy enough drugs to at least cover 2 or 3 weeks, or sometimes even 4 weeks after you return. And you need to take them religiously. Malaria tablet is for preventative measures, okay? It will not kill off, but it will just hopefully help you to avoid, getting the nasty malaria illness. But it is essential. It is essential because a lot of people will contract malaria because they get bitten by mosquitoes. Okay, and talking about mosquitoes, you need to be very careful. Okay, so your clothes has to be. I don't know. It is always a very difficult advice to people. I personally would wear long sleeves all the way. But for some people, they like to wear short sleeves. But if I wear long sleeves, the chances of being bitten by malaria and also having a very nice tan, and no tan, the line, okay, is minimized. And in actual fact, some of the malaria tablets do have side effects. For example, you get extra tan. That comes free with the malaria tablet. Okay, if you like a very nice tan, then get those type of anti-malaria tablet, and 2 hours in the sun, and you will come back in totally different. If you see what I mean. Okay, so you need to be aware of all these things. Okay, you need to make sure that your malaria tablet. So it really depends on your personal health. You need to go and see a doctor or a travel nurse. They need to take into account your physical and psychological well-being before they prescribe the appropriate type of anti-malarial tablets to you. Okay? So if you're going for the first or second time, then just make sure that. Talking about mosquitoes. Anyone know what the mosquitoes look like? It might be a good idea, if you don't know what a mosquito looks like, to sort of do a search on Google before you go. One time we were in a certain room or a certain place, okay, and I was sleeping in this room and the sisters were sleeping in that room. Sorry, it's always sisters. I don't know. Well, one of the stories is always about sisters. I don't know why. I settled down, I started to unpack my bag, and then I heard one of the sisters out. Michael, can you come into my room? I rushed over thinking that, something drastic had happened. Yes, to them it's a life and death emergency. Because the sister wants me to confirm or otherwise whether a speck on the wall is actually a mosquito or some other insect. I looked at it and said, yes, I think that's a mosquito. So, it might be helpful just to know these things. Maybe where you are from, you might not even know what a mosquito looks like. So, yeah. So I'm talking about mosquito. I'm not talking about stuff like that. Okay, you will need to definitely bring your mosquito net. And the advice really is that mosquito net has to be impregnated with some insecticides. The way that I bring a very small, because I don't like luggage, so I bring a very small mosquito net. Some people like to bring the biggest mosquito net with them. No, yes, I know I tend to bring my personal mosquito. Why not? If you are going to get bitten anyway, so just bring your own one, and why not? Bring your mosquito net, and one of the things that you need to do really is please practice hanging it while you are still in this country. Not in this country, but in your own home country. Okay? The worst thing is you have an overnight flight, you arrive late into the country. The first thing that you need to do is sleep, and before you sleep, and then suddenly you realize that we have to hang up the mosquito net first. And because you have never been to that country, you've never been to Africa, you have never hung a mosquito net before, there's every chances that, you would have the funny idea, exactly. See, this is what happens. You have the funny idea of, using the mosquito net. I've seen it so many times. You have the idea of using it as a duvet and just thinking that, as long as the mosquito net cover me, I will be protected. And I can guarantee that next morning when you wake up, you have got dum, 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 dum. Because even though the mosquito net is for your protection, but if you lay it against your skin, it will the mosquito cannot go under the net, but guess what? It can still sting you through the net. Okay? So the mosquito net, the way that it works is you need to have a space between the net and your physical body. Seriously. So now I'm turning to the brothers. So if you tend to sort of toss and turn and do whatever the gymnastic movements while you sleep, and I've known brothers who sort of do that, okay, then it would be extra risky because the chance of you sometime, just having your skin or part of your body sort of by the side of the net, and you create a chance. So for a lot of people, they want to buy the biggest mosquito net available so that they have space. But it's just personal choice. But you need to know that, and please learn how to hang up a mosquito net. Okay. Yes, sir?
Do bug sprays work?
Bug sprays would work, but you cannot rely on it because guess what? You kill off no matter how many bugs, more is waiting in line.
You spray it on your body, like the bug will come.
Okay. Glad you asked that question. Okay. There are two types. One is an insecticide where you spray in the room, and therefore your room stinks anyway. It technically would kill off most bugs, but more will come along anyway. The other way is to have what you are saying is called insect repellent. It would work to a certain extent, okay, but it would not protect you to sleep, without a mosquito net throughout the night. Okay, it would help particularly because mosquitoes tends to work, not work, but to them it's work. Well, actually they enjoy it because to them it's food. They like to consume us or our blood, from sunset into the evening. So normally you would, if you go out or if you stay indoor, okay, you can put on some insect repellent. There would be the natural type, and there will be also the artificial type. Basically, that is the natural ingredient for those who are more environmentally friendly or more green among you guys. Or, that would be the deadly human man-made chemicals that would not only kill the mosquitoes or insects, but it will also, if you read scary stories, it will also kill off your dog, your cat, your pet, your fish, everything else. Yeah. But you don't care. You say, I don't care. As long as it doesn't kill me, I'm fine. Well, the choice is yours, and you need to bring it with you, but you can't rely on it totally when you're sleeping. Okay, the mosquito net is a must. It's definitely a must. Sorry? It doesn't really work, in my experience. The incense, no, mosquito incense, no. Yeah, sorry, Jordan.
Do you normally use the hang types, or have you ever used, the pop-up ones?
What?
It's like pop-up mosquito. It's like a tent, like a pop-up tent. It's a really nice.
Yes.
It's like easy, but it's very bulky.
Yes. The easiest one to carry along is my one. Because I get the smallest type, okay? But not everyone likes that. But it's your choice. It's your choice. The bigger it is, the bulkier it is, obviously. And the pop-up one, to me, is the worst in the sense of, putting it in your luggage, picking up space, and... but it's up to you guys. It's always good experience to be able to put up a mosquito net wherever you live. There are many ways of putting up mosquito nets. You can use it by hook, put some hook in the wall, or you can use, rope guidelines, or, masking tape, duct tape, or whatever, You just need to know your mosquito net and at least practice to see where it goes. Some places you go, you will have mosquito nets, but in my opinion, I always use my one, even if some are in the room, because you don't know whether they're whole. The public ones, or the ones used by other people, might probably have holes in it, or because I know that, my one has already been impregnated with insecticide, so I know it's relatively safe. The work that works is, not only would the mosquito not come and sting me, but, when they approach the net, they wouldn't approach it because they know that it has been sprayed with insecticides or soaked in insecticides. So that would be something that is useful. Okay. So, in terms of food, anyone don't like tomato? Anyone allergic to tomato? Good. Because a lot of the time, your food will be tomato-based. Okay? It could be beef, chicken, it could be lamb, it could be anything. But, the way that they cook it, a lot of the times, they are not as versatile as the menu of a Chinese takeaway. In a traditional or in a normal Chinese takeaway, you have about 300 dishes, okay? But in Africa, you probably will eat a variety of between 2 or 3. So, it's just that. Okay. Food. No, clothing. Clothing is fine. Oh, in terms of clothing as well. In terms of clothing, okay. I used to say, okay, it might not be applicable now, but I used to say that for the sisters, it might be a good idea to bring a long skirt. If you bring a skirt, please bring a long one. Try not to bring a not long skirt, if you see what I mean. Okay. Yes, that would be that. Food. Living. Okay, I think, no, because time is up, okay, I'm going to stop here. Coming back or during the break, if you have any particular questions, okay, please ask, okay, and then we'll continue making this up as we go along in 10 minutes' time. Is that okay? Right, so let's have a silent prayer first. Amen. Do we still give them the packing list nowadays? Sorry? You guys get a packing list? Okay. Did you get one?
Yeah.
Which one? Oh, no, man.
There's a PDF document. Okay.
Yes, I can't think of any other document except PDF document, etc. It's alright, it's okay. I'm just imagining they just have to. You did? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, free, I never talked about it. I used to. Oh no, that's even worse. To me, that's even worse.
我们在一箱三丁鱼。
哎呦，
要不要吃？
你是跟 TK 去是不是？算了。
It's not. Oh, protein.